In the middle of a crowded parking lot, my mother screamed, "No respect for family!" before shoving me out of the back seat and ripping the keys from my hand. My father slammed the door shut. The SUV tore away, taking my purse, phone, and the money I'd been paying them for years. I stood there frozen, knees bleeding, and understood this wasn't family anymore. This was a calculated robbery. That night, I opened a file. The next morning, I opened a war. My name is Amelia Carter Mia to everyone except my mother, who only uses my full name when she wants something. At 28, I'd built a decent life as a logistics coordinator at Front Range Medical Logistics, managing supply chains that kept operating rooms stocked and emergency departments running. I was good at controlling chaos, just not the kind that lived in my childhood home. That Sunday started like every family lunch for the past decade. My parents' colonial house smelled of pot roast and manipulation. The dining room table set with the good china they'd bought with my credit card for family occasions. My father, Wayne, sat at the head, scrolling through his phone while my mother, Linda, fussed over my younger brother, Tyler, refilling his plate before he'd even emptied it. "Tyler has an interview tomorrow," my mother announced, dabbing her lips with a napkin. "Downtown, that tech startup." "That's great," I said, cutting into overcooked meat. Tyler hadn't held a job longer than 3 months in his 24 years, but we all played along with the fiction that this time would be different. "He'll need the SUV." She wasn't asking. The fork stopped halfway to my mouth. "My SUV." "The family car," she corrected, though the registration was in my name. The insurance came from my account, and I'd never missed a payment in 4 years. "You can take the bus to work." "Mom, I need my car." "I have site visits all week. Family comes first." Her voice sharpened like a blade testing skin. "Or have you forgotten everything we've done for you?" The familiar guilt symphony began how they'd helped with community college that first year, though I'd paid them back twice over. How they'd co-signed my first apartment, which I'd left after 2 months when I found out they'd been using my address for credit applications. How family doesn't keep score, except they kept meticulous track of every perceived slight. "I can drop Tyler off before work," I offered. "Pick him up after." "Don't be ridiculous. He needs flexibility for callbacks." Tyler smirked from across the table, already knowing he'd won. He always won. "No." The word came out stronger than intended. "I'm sorry, but no. If Tyler needs a car, he can rent one, or you can lend him yours." My mother's face transformed, that particular shade of rage masked as wounded motherhood. "After everything, after we opened our home to you, this is the respect you show." "Linda," my father warned, but not because he disagreed. He just preferred quieter cruelty. I stood to leave. "I should go. Thanks for lunch." That's when she grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to bruise, my mother had perfected the art of violence that wouldn't photograph well. "You're not walking away from this family." "I'm walking away from this conversation." The trip to the car became a parade of accusations. My mother followed, heels clicking on pavement like a countdown. Tyler trailed behind, recording on his phone because of course he was. My father brought up the rear, keys jingling in his pocket, my spare set. I realized too late. I'd just unlocked the SUV when my mother's hand connected with my shoulder. Not a push exactly, that would be too obvious. More like a guided fall that sent me sprawling onto asphalt. My knee hit first, denim tearing, skin meeting ground with a wet scrape that would sting for days. "No respect for family." The scream echoed off neighboring houses. Curtains twitched. Mrs. Henderson from 2 doors down pretended to water already drenched petunias. My father helped me up. "No, that's wrong." He reached past me for my keys, still dangling from numb fingers. My purse sat in the back seat where I'd tossed it before lunch. My phone charging in the center console. 3 years of financial records in the glove box because I'd been organizing receipts that morning. Tyler slid into the passenger seat. My mother took the back. My father started the engine. "This is theft," I said quietly. My mother laughed. "It's family." The SUV reversed, nearly clipping my hip. I stumbled backward. blood running down my shin in thin streams that would stain my last good jeans. They drove away without looking back, taking everything that mattered and proving what I'd always suspected family was just another word for authorized theft. I stood in that driveway for 5 minutes, maybe 10, long enough for Mrs. Henderson to retreat inside, long enough for the blood to start drying, long enough to understand that my mother had finally done me a favor. She'd shown me exactly who they were. That night, limping through my apartment door after a $20 Uber ride paid with emergency cash hidden in my jacket, I opened my laptop, changed every password, checked every statement, and began to document what family had really cost me. The pattern had been there all along, hidden beneath years of family first and good daughters don't keep receipts. Sitting at my kitchen table at 2:30 a.m., laptop screen burning my retinas, I traced the financial DNA of my own exploitation. It started with community college. I was 18, working nights at a warehouse to pay tuition. Then my father's back went out convenient timing, right before his unemployment ran out. Just this semester, my mother had promised, sliding the tuition bill across our kitchen table. We'll pay you back when Dad's workers' comp comes through. The workers' comp never came, neither did the repayment, but the requests multiplied like cells dividing. Could I add them to my phone plan for the family discount? Could I co-sign Tyler's student loans since my credit was so good? Could I put the utilities in my name temporarily while they sorted things out with the credit bureau? I became the family's financial spine while they broke my actual one with the weight of carrying them. The Excel spreadsheet grew with each discovered transaction. Cable bills for premium channels I'd never watched. A phone line for my mother's home business that consisted entirely of online shopping. Auto insurance for Tyler's speeding tickets that somehow processed through my account because we were bundled for savings. 3 years ago, I'd lost my debit card at a concert. Panic had consumed me until my mother suite. Helpful Linda offered to call the bank while I was at work. I know your security questions. Honey, remember when I helped you set up the account? She had helped. When I was 17. She'd memorized my answers, my passwords. The sound of my voice saying yes to authorization questions. The new card arrived at their house by mistake. The old one, supposedly destroyed, kept working for automatic payments I'd never authorized. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Hope her knee is okay. Mom says her being dramatic again. Dramatic. Like when I'd questioned the $1,000 Best Buy purchase on my statement last Christmas. Tyler needed a laptop for school, my mother had explained, though the receipt showed a gaming system. Don't be selfish, Mia. We've given you everything. Everything meant selective memories. They'd given me a roof until 18, food that came with lectures about gratitude, clothes from garage sales while Tyler wore brand names. They'd given me exactly what the law required and treated anything beyond that like a debt I'd spend my lifetime repaying. I pulled up my credit report at 3:45 a.m. The familiar entries were there, my car loan, 2 credit cards I actually used. But there, like a tumor I'd been ignoring, sat a third card, Carter household account. Opened 3 months after I'd lost my debit card. $12,000 in debt. Authorized user Linda Carter. The email address on file wasn't mine. Linda Carter, family or Gmail. Because of course she'd created an email to manage her theft, to receive statements I'd never see, to click approval on increases I'd never know about. I found the paper trail in my old files. The family phone plan I paid for 4 lines but only used 1. The car insurance coverage for 3 vehicles when I only drove 1. The parking pass for downtown that renewed monthly. Shipping address my parents' house. Tyler's gym membership. My father's prescription deliveries. My mother's subscription boxes. Death by 1,000 family discounts. At work, I managed million-dollar supply chains. I could track a single surgical instrument from manufacturer to operating room, account for every penny in transport costs, predict shortages 3 months out. I optimized systems, eliminated waste, created efficiency from chaos. But at home, I'd been the waste they eliminated their debts through. Family doesn't keep receipts. My mother always said. It's tacky. It shows you don't trust. She was right about one thing I hadn't trusted. That's why I'd started taking photos of documents 2 years ago, storing them in a cloud folder marked tax stuff. Every receipt she'd asked me to throw away. Every statement she'd grabbed from my mail to help file. Every text asking for quick loans that never got repaid. By sunrise. I had it all mapped. 8 years. $63,000. Not including interest, late fees, or the credit score damage from accounts I hadn't known existed. The irony burned like coffee on an empty stomach. My job was preventing medical supply theft, tracking inventory shrinkage, investigating discrepancies. I'd been trained to spot fraud, coached in chain of custody protocols, certified in loss prevention. But the call was coming from inside the house. Had been all along. My mother's words echoed. Good daughters don't keep receipts. No, they don't. They keep spreadsheets. They keep evidence. They keep lawyers' numbers. And starting today, they keep their distance. By Monday evening, my dining table looked like a war room. Color-coded folders spread across every surface, sticky notes marking critical evidence, 3 laptops running different reports simultaneously. The knee I'd scraped was bandaged under fresh jeans, but the real wound went deeper than skin. I'd taken a sick day, my first in 2 years, and spent it becoming a forensic accountant of my own robbery. The credit report revealed more rot, 4 inquiries I hadn't made, 2 store cards at places I'd never shopped, a loan application denied. Thank God for a boat. A boat. My father had apparently decided that financial fraud should include maritime dreams. The phone records told their own story. That family plan I paid for Tyler's line averaged 900 minutes monthly to numbers I traced to gaming services and psychic hotlines. My mother's data usage could have streamed Netflix for a small country. The 4th line, supposedly for emergencies, showed regular calls to betting services. I photographed everything. Twice. Uploaded to 3 different cloud services. Emailed copies to an account my family didn't know existed. Then I called my mother. Mia, sweetheart. Her voice dripped false warmth. I was just telling your father you'd come around. Family always does. I need to understand something, I said, hitting record on my laptop. The SUV is in my name. Your name, our family. Same thing. Legally, though. Legal. She laughed. Since when does family involve lawyers? Don't be dramatic. Tyler's interview went wonderfully. By the way, he'll need the car for training. 2 weeks. The car that's registered to me, that I pay insurance on, that we all use. Yes, Mia, the family car. Is this why you called to be petty about sharing? What about the credit card? Silence. Then, what credit card? The Carter household account. Oh, that. Dismissive, like I'd mentioned a forgotten library book. For family expenses, you agreed to it. When you don't remember when you lost your debit card, we discussed it while I was helping you. You opened a credit card in my name without telling me. I opened a family account you benefited from. That new couch you're probably sitting on family account. The tires we put on the SUV last winter family account. My couch was 7 years old from Craigslist. The tires I'd paid cash at Costco. But she believed her own lies so completely that confronting them felt like punching smoke. I need documentation, I said carefully. For all of it. For my taxes. She snorted. Taxes. Since when do you itemize? Since I needed paper trails for court. It's responsible. It's insulting. We're your parents, not your clients. Then you shouldn't mind providing receipts. The warmth evaporated. You ungrateful little after everything, after we raised you, supported you, gave you every opportunity. You gave Tyler opportunities with my credit score. He's your brother. He's a thief, and so are you. I'd never heard my mother speechless. It lasted 4 seconds. How dare you? How dare you accuse your own mother? It's not an accusation if it's documented. You're having another episode, aren't you? Like in college when you got so paranoid about money. The gaslighting shouldn't have surprised me. But it did. That episode in college was me working 3 jobs to cover their emergencies while maintaining a full course load. The paranoia was exhaustion. The breakdown was burnout from paying for a family that never stopped taking. "I'm done," I said. "I'm freezing the cards, canceling the services, and reporting the car as stolen." "You wouldn't." "I would. I am. Unless you return it by tomorrow morning?" "This is extortion." "No, Mom. Extortion is opening accounts in your daughter's name. This is consequences." She hung up. 20 minutes later, my father called. Then Tyler. Then my aunt, my mother's sister. Then numbers I didn't recognize. I let them all go to voicemail, each message adding to my evidence folder. She's lost her mind again. Family helps family. So selfish, after all they've done. What kind of daughter? By 10 p.m., I had 43 missed calls and 112 text messages. Tyler had posted on Facebook about his mentally unstable sister trying to ruin the family. My mother had emailed relatives about my financial abuse, of them accompanied by selective screenshots of me refusing to help with bills. Perfect. They were creating evidence of harassment. I opened a new document, Pattern of Financial Coercion and Identity Theft. Every transaction, dated and categorized. Every unauthorized account, tracked and traced. Every text demanding money, screenshotted and saved. At 11:15 p.m., I checked the parking app on my phone, the one connected to the downtown pass on my account. The SUV's GPS showed it at a casino 40 miles away. Tyler's job interview had gone very well indeed. I added Grand Theft Auto to my list and finally allowed myself a smile. They thought I was the weak link, the family ATM programmed to dispense on demand. Tomorrow, they'd learn that ATMs have cameras, and sometimes they call the cops. Elena Brooks answered on the second ring, even though it was 7 a.m. "Mia, it's been 3 years? Since graduation. We'd stayed Facebook friends but lost touch when she'd gone to law school and I'd gone to work. I need a lawyer. Elena, a good one. Lucky for you, I became one. What kind of trouble?" "The kind that involves family." Her tone shifted immediately. Domestic violence, financial coercion, identity theft, and as of yesterday, Grand Theft Auto. Jesus, your family. My parents and brother. I'll clear my morning. Can you be here by 9? Elena's office was nothing like the gleaming towers where corporate lawyers worked. She ran a small practice specializing in financial abuse cases, 3 rooms above a coffee shop. But her walls were covered with newspaper clippings of victories, and that mattered more than marble lobbies. She listened without interrupting as I laid out 8 years of evidence. Occasionally she'd nod or make a note, but mostly she just absorbed the magnitude of what my family had done. "This is textbook financial abuse," she said finally. "And remarkably well documented. You've done half my job already. I work in logistics. Documentation is survival." "Good, because your parents are going to claim this was all consensual family support. The recording of your mother admitting to the credit card helps. But we need more." "How much more?" "All of it. Every text, every email, every voicemail. We're building a pattern of coercion." She pulled out a legal pad. "First, we file reports, identity theft with the FTC, fraud alerts with credit bureaus, police report for the vehicle. They'll say I gave them permission. Did you? To borrow it for an afternoon 3 months ago? Then it's theft. The casino parking lot proves it wasn't for Tyler's interview. Speaking of which," she turned to her computer. "Let me check something." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "There's no tech startup hiring downtown that matches his description." I'm shocked. The sarcasm felt like validation. Finally, someone else saw through the fiction. "What about recovering the money?" Elena's expression sobered. "Honestly, blood from a stone. But we can stop the bleeding and protect your future earnings, possibly force sale of assets if they own any." "They own the house." "Mortgaged, free and clear, inherited from my grandmother 5 years ago." Her eyes sharpened. "That's interesting. Very interesting. My phone buzzed. The parking app showed the SUV moving heading toward my apartment. They're bringing the car back. Don't accept it. Not without witnesses and documentation. Actually, Elena grabbed her phone. Let me call someone. The someone was Marcus Chen, a security consultant who specialized in documentation for legal cases. He arrived within an hour, cameras ready. We're going to record every interaction from now on, Elena explained. Missouri is a one-party consent state. You can record without telling them. They'll escalate. Good, let them. Every threat is evidence. Every lie is documentation. By noon, I had a team. Elena for legal strategy, Marcus for security and documentation, Janet from the bank's fraud department, who walked me through freezing accounts and creating new ones my family couldn't access. You see this more than people think, Janet said quietly. Family members are the most common identity thieves. They know all your information, have access to your documents, and count on guilt to avoid consequences. How does it usually end? Badly. Most victims never report it. They eat the debt, repair the damage alone, and the cycle continues. Not this time. She smiled. Good. Now, let's talk about that fraudulent credit card. By 3 p.m., I'd filed 7 reports, frozen my credit, opened accounts at a different bank, and changed every password to randomly generated strings. Even I couldn't remember without my password manager. The SUV was back in my apartment's lot, keys left under the mat. But Marcus found something interesting on the surveillance footage he'd pulled from my building. Look at this, he said, laptop angled toward Elena and me. They arrived at 2:43 p.m. Your mother takes pictures of the car from every angle. Your father videos the interior. Tyler, is that a GPS tracker he's placing under the bumper? Elena laughed, actually laughed. They're building their own fraud case, documenting the car's condition for when they claim you damaged it, adding a tracker to locate their property. So they're planning something. Oh, honey. Elena squeezed my shoulder. They're not planning. They're panicking. The pictures, the tracker, the sudden return they talked to someone, maybe a lawyer, maybe just Google. Either way, they realized they're exposed. My phone rang. Mom. Elena nodded. I answered on speaker. Marcus recording. Mia, we need to have a family meeting. Tomorrow night. Giovanni's. 7 p.m. The Italian place near their church. Public. Full of their friends. Where they could control the narrative. I'll think about it. You'll be there. We're still your parents. She hung up. Elena's grin was predatory. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's a trap. For them. They want public. We'll give them public. They want witnesses. We'll bring receipts. Literally. I don't understand. Your parents just scheduled their own intervention, in front of their community, where they can't deny, deflect, or disappear. She pulled out her legal pad again. Here's what we're going to do. The smear campaign started Tuesday morning. I woke to 17 Facebook notifications, 43 text messages, and a voicemail from my supervisor asking if everything was okay at home. My mother had gone nuclear. The Facebook posts were masterful in their manipulation. Photos of young me at Christmas, birthdays, graduation all captioned with stories of sacrifice. Worked double shifts to buy her prom dress. Sold my grandmother's jewelry for her college books. Gave up our retirement dreams so she could have opportunities. All lies wrapped in enough truth to sound believable. Yes, they'd worked. No, it wasn't for me. The prom dress came from Goodwill. The college books were bought with my warehouse wages. Their retirement dreams died at the casino, not on my education. Tyler's contribution was more direct. He'd posted screenshots of text conversations edited. Naturally. My "I'm done" became "I'm done with this family." My "return the car" became "return the car" or "I'll destroy you all." Creative fiction with just enough real words to seem authentic. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had opinions. Aunt Patricia called me ungrateful. Cousin Michael suggested therapy. My grandmother's sister in Florida left a voicemail about honoring thy father and mother. At work, Rumors spread like spilled coffee. By lunch, everyone knew something was wrong with Mia's family. The whispers followed me through the warehouse, into meetings, around corners I couldn't see but could feel. Take the week, my supervisor suggested. Sort out whatever this is. I wanted to show him the evidence, the spreadsheets, the truth. Instead, I nodded and packed my desk, knowing silence looked like guilt, but speaking would sound like excuses. Elena called at 2 p.m. They're escalating beautifully. Beautifully. They're destroying my reputation. They're documenting harassment. Every post, every call, every flying monkey they send, it's evidence of coordinated defamation. Flying monkeys. That's what she called the relatives and friends my parents weaponized. I was Dorothy. They were the Wicked Witch's army, and apparently we were all heading for Oz. What about the restaurant meeting? Oh, we're going. But first, some preparation. The preparation involved printing. Hundreds of pages bank statements, credit reports, receipts, transcripts. Elena had them bound into presentation folders, professional and damning. Your parents chose a public venue to shame you into compliance, she explained. We're going to use that same venue to expose them, publicly, permanently. Wednesday arrived with more escalation. My mother had called my ex-boyfriend, my college roommate, my first boss at the warehouse. The narrative was consistent mental health crisis, financial instability, dangerous behavior. Tyler texted threats that grew less subtle. You don't know what you're starting. This won't end well for you. Family protects family, and you're not family anymore. I screenshot everything, backed it up twice, sent copies to Elena. Then came the masterstroke my father called the police for a wellness check. 2 officers arrived at my apartment at 6 p.m., looking embarrassed before they even spoke. Ma'am, we received a call about potential self-harm. I'm fine. This is about a civil dispute with my parents. They relaxed immediately. One even sighed. Family disputes. We get these a lot. You might want to consider a protective order. Already in progress. After they left, I sat in my quiet apartment and felt the weight of what was happening. My family wasn't just fighting back, they were trying to erase me, make me crazy. Make me disappear into a story where they were victims and I was the villain who needed saving or stopping. My phone rang. Not my parents this time, my childhood pastor, Reverend Williams. Mia, your mother asked me to call. Of course she did. She's concerned. Says you've been acting erratically, making accusations. Reverend, did she mention the $63,000 they've stolen from me? Silence. Did she mention the credit cards opened in my name, the car they took, the identity theft? She said you've been having episodes. I have evidence. Would you like to see it? That's not necessary. But perhaps we could all meet. Neutral ground. Work toward forgiveness. Giovanni's. Tomorrow at 7. You're welcome to attend. Your mother mentioned a different date. Tomorrow at 7. I repeated. If reconciliation is the goal, they won't mind you being there. He agreed, uncertain but intrigued. I hung up and texted Elena. The Reverend is coming. Perfect. Witnesses with moral authority. Your parents can't call their pastor a liar. Thursday morning, the texts from my mother changed tone. Honey instead of vinegar. Nostalgia instead of threats. Remember when you were 7 and wanted to be a doctor, I bought you that toy stethoscope with my last $20. Your first day of high school. I cried because you looked so grown up. We're not perfect parents, but we love you. Reeling me back in. Testing which bait I'd take. I responded once. See you tonight at 7. Her response was immediate. Let's make it Sunday, after church, when everyone can be there. Everyone. Their entire congregation. The full weight of community pressure. Tonight at 7, I repeated, or I proceed with criminal charges tomorrow morning. You're threatening your own mother. I'm offering you a chance to resolve this privately. Tonight. Take it or leave it. She took it. Of course she did. Criminals always think they can talk their way out of consequences. Elena met me at 6:30 p.m. Outside Giovanni's. You ready? No. Good. Anger makes you sharp. Fear makes you careful. You need both tonight. What if they don't show? Then we file charges tomorrow and they lose the chance to control any part of this narrative. A car pulled up. My parents' SUV, not mine. Theirs. They emerged dressed like they were attending a funeral. My mother in black. My father in a dark suit. Tyler in the only button-down shirt he owned. They'd come to bury their ungrateful daughter. They had no idea she was about to rise from the dead. Giovanni's restaurant sat next to Blessed Sacrament Church, sharing a parking lot that filled every Sunday with the righteous and hungry. Thursday nights were quieter, but my mother had guaranteed an audience. I counted 14 familiar faces before we even reached the door church. Friends, neighborhood gossips. 2 of my father's poker buddies. The hostess led us to the back corner booth my parents had reserved. Strategic positioning, they sat facing out toward their audience while Elena and I faced the wall. What they didn't know was that Marcus was already seated 3 tables over. Camera pen clipped to his shirt, phone recording from his pocket. Before we begin, my mother announced loudly enough for nearby tables to hear, we want you to know we forgive you. Elena kicked me under the table. Stay quiet. Let them perform. This rebellion, this phase, whatever you want to call it, we understand you're going through something. She reached across the table. I didn't take her hand. But family forgives. Family forgets. Family remembers everything, I said, pulling out the first folder. Especially receipts. My father's jaw tightened. Put that away. This is dinner, not a deposition. You're right. Depositions come later. Tyler snorted. You can't sue family? Actually, Elena spoke for the first time. She can. I'm Elena Brooks, Ms. Carter's attorney. The word attorney rippled through the restaurant like dropped silverware. My mother's carefully constructed scene was already off script. You brought a lawyer to dinner with your parents. She projected wounded shock for the audience. You brought witnesses to an ambush. I countered, voice steady. I brought documentation. Reverend Williams arrived then, looking uncomfortable as he slid into the booth beside my parents. Perhaps we can resolve this with prayer and conversation. Perhaps we can resolve this with returned property and repaid theft, Elena suggested. Theft. My mother's voice cracked beautifully. From our own daughter, I opened the folder and pulled out the credit card statement. Carter household account, $12,000 in debt. Opened without my knowledge using my social security number. For family expenses. Itemized here. I flipped pages loud enough for the sound to carry. $800 at Best Buy Tyler's gaming system. $3,000 at Carnival Cruise Line's your anniversary trip. $600 at David's Bridal for cousin Ashley's wedding, where you were mother of the bride's aunt. Reverend Williams leaned forward. Linda, is this true? It's family money. It's fraud, Elena corrected. Also documented here unauthorized use of Ms. Carter's vehicle, currently reported stolen. $63,000 in diverted funds over 8 years. Identity theft across multiple accounts. We're her parents. My father exploded, forgetting his audience. Which makes it worse, not better. Elena replied calmly. I pulled out the second folder text messages, printed and highlighted. Should I read these aloud? The threats, the harassment, the coordinated social media campaign. My mother grabbed for the papers. I pulled them back, but not before several sheets scattered across the table, visible to anyone looking. Mia, please, Reverend Williams intervened. Surely this can be handled privately. I tried that. They responded by calling in a false wellness check and telling my employer I was unstable. Gasps from the cheap seats. Mrs. Henderson from the neighborhood had arrived, along with 3 more church ladies. The audience was growing. We were worried, my mother protested. You were worried about losing access to my accounts. I pulled out the GPS tracker Marcus had found. So worried you put this on my car. That's not, we didn't. Thursday, 2:43 p.m. I read from Marcus's report. Tyler Carter observed placing tracking device on vehicle registered to Amelia Carter. Tyler went pale. You were watching. The building has cameras, unlike your interview, which doesn't exist. The tech startup that doesn't exist. The job training you needed my car for that doesn't exist. You're sick, my mother hissed, abandoning the performance. You've always been sick, paranoid, selfish. Documented, I said, pulling out the final folder. Every gaslight, every manipulation, every financial crime, 8 years of evidence. Elena stood. Ms. Carter has prepared a settlement offer. Return the vehicle immediately. Pay restitution of $30,000 half what was stolen. Cease all contact. Sign a confession of financial misconduct. Or, my father growled, or we file criminal charges tomorrow morning. The FBI takes identity theft very seriously. The IRS will be interested in unreported income from Ms. Carter's accounts. The state prosecutor loves elder abuse cases, but financial abuse of adult children counts too. This is extortion, my mother shrieked. No, Elena smiled coldly. This is consequence. Reverend Williams stood slowly. Linda, Wayne, perhaps you should consider, don't you dare take her side. I'm not taking sides. But if what she's shown is true, I spread the papers across the table like tarot cards revealing the future. Hey, here's the casino parking receipt from Tyler's interview day. Here's the cruise booking on my credit. Here's Mom's signature authorizing charges on an account I never opened. The restaurant had gone quiet. Even the kitchen seemed to pause. My mother stood, tears streaming. After everything we sacrificed, name one thing, I challenged. One actual sacrifice you made for me that wasn't required by law or repaid triple. Silence. We're leaving, my father announced. And you're getting nothing, not a penny, not an apology, nothing. Then you're getting arrested, Elena said simply. The criminal complaint is already drafted. One phone call and it's filed. They walked out, Tyler trailing behind like a beaten dog. The audience watched them go, then turned to me with expressions ranging from sympathy to shock to satisfaction. Mrs. Henderson approached our table. That parking lot incident makes more sense now. You saw it. Recorded it, dear. For my own safety. You understand? Terrible what some families do to each other. She placed a USB drive on the table and walked away. Elena pocketed it immediately. That's game. But the game wasn't over. We'd won the battle in the restaurant, but wars aren't won at dinner tables. They're won in parking lots, with witnesses and warrants and the kind of justice that comes from refusing to be a victim 1 second longer. The parking lot was already full when we arrived. My mother had called in reinforcements' extended family, church elders, my father's bowling league. At least 30 people milled around their cars, pretending to chat casually while obviously waiting for the show. My SUV sat in the center spot like a prize at the fair, washed and waxed to perfection. They'd even hung a pine air freshener from the mirror, the kind my mother bought in bulk, convinced they made everything seem fresh and honest. Stay calm, Elena whispered as we parked. Marcus is already in position. The tow truck is 2 blocks away. Officers Mitchell and Rivera are on standby. I'd worn my best dress, navy blue, professional, the one I'd bought for my promotion interview. If this was going to be public theater, I'd look the part of a woman who had her life together. My mother stood beside the SUV like she owned it, keys dangling from her manicured fingers. She'd changed clothes now in her white church dress, the one she wore when she wanted to look pure and persecuted. Mia, she called out loud enough for everyone to hear. You came to your senses. The crowd shifted closer. I recognized most faces, people who'd known me since childhood, who'd heard my mother's version of events for the past week. I came for my property, I said, matching her volume. Your property. She laughed, bright and false. This family vehicle, the one we all pay for, the one registered in my name, insured by me, paid for by me, paid for with family money. This was the moment. I pulled out the folder Elena had prepared enlarged copies of everything. Bank statements blown up to poster size, registration documents, insurance papers, 5 years of payment history. Should we review the receipts? I asked, holding them up. June payments from my account. July, my account. August through December, all my account. Tyler pushed through the crowd. That's because you handle the family finances. With whose money? Tyler. I turned to face him. Show everyone your bank statements. Show them your contributions. He stayed silent. My father emerged from behind a van. This is ridiculous. We're family. Family shares. Family asks permission, I countered. Family doesn't steal. Steal! My mother's shriek echoed off the church walls. How dare you! Carter household credit card, I announced, pulling out the statement. $12,000 in debt. Opened using my social security number without my knowledge. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. For family expenses? She protested. Tyler's PlayStation, your cruise, Dad's golf clubs. I read each charge loudly. Explain how those are my expenses. Reverend Williams stepped forward from the church entrance where he'd been watching. Linda, is this true? She's twisting everything, making us sound like criminals when we're just a family that shares resources. Then share the receipts, I challenged. Show everyone your contributions. Prove you paid into these shared resources. Silence. My mother tried a different approach, tears flowing on command. After everything we've done, the sacrifices, the love, name them, I said, specifically, with dates and amounts. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. A mother's love can't be quantified, but theft can. Elena stepped forward, having waited for the perfect moment. Ms. Carter has documentation of $63,000 in unauthorized charges, fraudulent accounts, and stolen property. Who are you? My father demanded, her attorney, and I've advised her to press criminal charges. The crowd reacted like Elena had pulled a gun. Everyone stepped back except my family, who stood frozen in place. You'd arrest your own parents. My mother's performance reached new heights. Your own family. No, I said calmly. The police would arrest you. I'd just provide evidence. That's when she snapped, really snapped. The mask didn't just slip, it shattered. No respect for family, she screamed, lunging at me. You ungrateful little... Her hands reached for my folder, my hair, anything she could grab. I stepped back, but she kept coming, nails scratching at the papers, tearing what she could reach. Mom, stop! Tyler tried to intervene, but she shoved him aside. This is mine. The car is mine. The money is mine. You owe us everything. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in, trying to wrestle the keys from my hand, except I didn't have them. She did. The irony of her attacking me for keys she already held would have been funny if her nails weren't drawing blood. Linda, Reverend Williams rushed forward. Stop this! She spun on him. You stay out of this. She's sick. She's always been sick. That's when I gave the signal. The tow truck rounded the corner, yellow lights flashing. Officers Mitchell and Rivera pulled into the lot from the other direction. Marcus stood up from where he'd been filming behind a minivan. What did you do? My father gasped. Exactly what I said I would. The tow truck backed up to the SUV. My mother tried to block it, but Officer Mitchell approached. Ma'am, please step away from the vehicle. This is theft. She's stealing from us. The vehicle is registered to Amelia Carter. Officer Rivera read from his tablet. Insurance in her name. Loan in her name. Has she given you permission to use it? She doesn't need to give permission. We're family. That's not how the law works. Ma'am. I pulled out the printed text messages. 3 days ago, I formally requested the return of my vehicle. They refused. That makes it theft. My mother laughed, high and hysterical. You can't prove we refused. I held up my phone and played the recording from the restaurant. Her voice rang out clear. We're leaving, and you're getting nothing. The crowd had formed a circle now, witnesses to the complete dissolution of the Carter family facade. Additionally, Elena announced, we have video evidence of assault from 30 seconds ago. Mrs. Henderson's recording from Sunday showing another assault. Marcus's documentation from tonight. Multiple witnesses to threats and harassment. My mother stood there, white dress spotted with blood from where she'd scratched me, mascara streaming down her face, looking nothing like the righteous victim she'd planned to play. "Mom," Tyler said quietly, "just give her the keys." She threw them at me. They hit my chest and fell to the asphalt. I didn't pick them up. I let them lie there while the tow truck operator hooked up my SUV, while the police took statements, while the crowd watched everything my parents had built crumble into nothing, because this wasn't about the keys anymore. This was about the moment my mother showed everyone who she really was. Elena appeared beside the tow truck, papers in hand, moving with the precision of someone who'd orchestrated this moment down to the second. She handed the documents to my parents with the kind of smile prosecutors save for guilty verdicts. "Restraining order," she announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Ms. Carter's property and person are now legally protected. Any contact, direct or indirect, will result in immediate arrest." My father took the papers with shaking hands. "This is request for restitution," Elena continued, handing him another set. "$63,000 in fraudulent charges, documented and verified. You can negotiate a payment plan or face criminal prosecution. And this," she pulled out the final document, "is a cease and desist for the defamation campaign. Every Facebook post, every text, every call to her employer documented. The choice is yours. Delete everything and post a retraction, or face a lawsuit that will cost far more than what you stole." The crowd pressed closer, phones out, recording everything. My mother's church friends, the ones she'd convinced I was unstable, were seeing the truth in real time. Officer Mitchell stepped forward. "Mrs. Carter, I need to discuss the assault that just occurred. Multiple witnesses saw you attack your daughter." I barely touched her. Marcus held up his camera. "I have it all on video. The scratches, the shoving, the attempt to grab the documents." "Would you like to press charges?" Officer Rivera asked me. I looked at my mother, disheveled, exposed, stripped of every manipulation she'd hidden behind. Then at my father, silent now that his intimidation meant nothing. At Tyler, who couldn't meet my eyes. "Not if they sign everything. Right now. Right here." Elena had come prepared. She pulled out a portable printer from her car, connected it to her tablet, and began printing clean copies. The parking lot had become an impromptu legal office, lit by streetlights and phone screens. "This is coercion," my mother protested weakly. "This is consequence," I said, using Elena's words from earlier. "You can sign and walk away, or I press charges and you leave in handcuffs. Choose." Reverend Williams approached my parents. "Linda, Wayne, I think you should sign. You're supposed to be on our side. I'm on the side of truth, and the truth is very clear here." My father signed first, pen scratching across paper like surrender. Tyler followed, quick and nervous. My mother held out the longest, but when Officer Mitchell pulled out handcuffs just to check them, of course she grabbed the pen. "There," she spat. "Happy now you've destroyed your family." "No," I said quietly. "You destroyed it. I just documented the demolition." Elena collected the signed papers, made copies on her portable printer, and handed sets to my parents and the officers. "These agreements are legally binding. Any violation will result in immediate legal action." The tow truck driver approached. "Ma'am, where would you like your vehicle?" "My apartment," I said, then changed my mind. "Actually, take it to Secure Store on Maple. I'll pick it up tomorrow." I wanted one night without looking at it, without thinking about every fight it represented. The crowd began dispersing, but not before several people approached me. "Mrs. Henderson squeezed my hand. "Good for you, dear." Others nodded or murmured support. Even some of my mother's friends looked shaken, reconsidering every story she'd told them. My family stood isolated in the empty space where my SUV had been, like actors after the curtain falls and the audience goes home. "You'll regret this," my mother said, but quietly now, defeated. "When you need family, we won't be there." "You were never there," I replied. You were just in my wallet. Elena walked me to her car. As we drove away, I looked back once. My parents were still standing in the parking lot, Tyler between them, all three looking smaller than I'd ever seen them. You okay? Elena asked. I will be. And I was. The next morning, I woke up in my apartment with its old Craigslist couch and empty walls, and felt richer than I'd ever been. My phone was quiet. The restraining order had included digital contact. My bank account was mine alone. My credit cards canceled and replaced with new ones only I could access. I made coffee in my kitchen, sat at my table cleared of evidence folders, and opened my laptop. The Facebook retractions were already posted, my mother's friends expressing shock, my father's poker buddies going silent, Tyler deleting his entire social media presence. At 9 a.m., I walked into my supervisor's office. I owe you an explanation, I said, and gave him the short version. He leaned back in his chair. Jesus, Mia, your own parents. My own parents. Take another week if you need it. Actually, I'd like to get back to work. Real chaos I can handle. It's the manufactured kind that exhausts me. 3 months later, I got the first restitution check. Not much. They'd negotiated a payment plan that would take years, but it came with something worth more than money validation, that what they'd done was wrong. Documented in legal terms. Undeniable. 6 months later, I heard through workplace gossip that Tyler had been arrested for credit card fraud. Different victim, same pattern. Without my accounts to pillage, they'd found someone else. The apple hadn't fallen far from the tree, it had been deliberately placed there. I never saw them again. Sometimes I'd drive past their neighborhood, see the house they'd inherited free and clear, the house that should have meant they never needed to steal from their daughter. But need and want are different beasts, and some people can't tell them apart. Elena and I stayed friends. Marcus sent me a Christmas card with a USB drive ornament, a joke about evidence. Mrs. Henderson waved when she saw me, and sometimes said, "You look well, dear. Freedom suits you." She was right. It did. The SUV runs perfectly now. Every payment made on time. Every mile driven mine alone. Sometimes I catch myself checking the back seat at stoplights, making sure my purse is still there, that my phone is secure, that my keys are in my hand. Old habits from new trauma. But mostly, I drive with the windows down, music playing, going wherever I want without asking permission or paying tolls to people who claimed love was worth more than respect, but treated both like commodities they could steal. The dashboard clock reads 3:23 p.m. as I merge onto the highway. In the rearview mirror, my face reflects back calm, owned, free, just like I'd imagined it would. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to hear where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your own experiences and perspectives mean the world to me, and they help build this amazing community we have here.